you're always going to feel unfulfilled. You're always going to be mad. You're always going to be hopeless through the rest of your life if you don't learn to steward what you have, as little as you might think it is, and then you don't be grateful for what you have, because if you're not grateful for what you have, then you're not going to be grateful for what you get either.
Yeah.
And then the next house, the next car, the next this, the next that is just going to be something that is old news within 3 days.
Can any of the cameras see my iPad?
No.
I've got some personal title notes that I don't want them to see.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, sit up, look strong, be big.
Yeah.
Personality, you got this.
Fill the chair.
It's all just those mirror quotes.
Command from the chair.
You are good. You are a strong man, Andre. That's what your notes say, probably. Oh, man. Yeah, no, I think hope. So what are the things that kind of came to your mind in it, I guess, is the biggest thing?
The biggest thing that came to my mind is probably the hopelessness that I think most of the world lives in. Like, I think listening to the messages, it was like, this all sounds amazing, and like, I really wish most people live this way, but like, most of the world doesn't. And that's such a sad thing, because I don't think hope is seen at all in the way that you described from the stage by a majority of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah. Like,
And why, though?
I don't know. Like, I think that's where you get into the difference between like wishful thinking and hope, you know? Because it's easy to say that you hope for something, but when things don't actually go your way, like, yeah, like 90% of people are like, okay, well, I guess this isn't, like, it's not for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people are
like, is cynical the right word? Maybe.
I mean, some people, I wouldn't say for everyone, but definitely for some people, there's definitely some people that, like, doesn't matter what kind of hope that any of us would grab onto, it would not make them feel hope-filled at all. Like, the same things, I think when you have someone that's a joyful person, that's hope-filled, they've figured out a way to see through the trash of life and still been able to keep hopeful. Like, and hopeful in the fact that something good's still around the corner, or they're on their way there, or what they're in is not the worst thing. Perspective, I think, is a lot of what we deal with in the world. And I think some of the happiest people in the world, they've just remained very their perspective has been pretty positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know, it's perspective's very positive. It's very, their outlook is different. And it's very similar to what you see in the Bible a lot of the time, in my opinion. Like, you see a lot of different people. Paul would be one of them, where it's like, how
Dude
did this
had
guy
no
write
reason
that?
to be hopeful.
None. But yet,
Zero.
he's one of the biggest contributors to the Word of God about staying joyful, hopeful, peace-filled, content, grateful. Meanwhile, he has a life that I don't think anyone could really relate to. Maybe some, obviously, but not the average.
Yeah.
They can't relate to it at all. In fact, I think it's so far-fetched to some people that they feel like it's like almost makes him unrelatable. Like, they think it's almost like a story. It's a script. It's a fairy tale. It's I know he was encouraging and giving peace through writings to all the different churches, and while he was chained to a wall, I get it. I've heard the story, and it's like, that's the cynical person,
He's
right?
a better man than me.
Yeah, it's like that. There's no other end to that, and
Yeah.
I think the world, there's a worldly hope and there's a biblical hope, and obviously that we understand the biblical hope from what my messages said.
Yeah,
it's more of an understanding and a trust in what God has said. And you see that in multiple different Bible. I don't like using the word characters because it makes it sound like it's a play. But
or stories.
Genuine people. Yeah. Like, it's like you have Abraham who is promised kids and at his old age, and you're just like, what the heck? Right? He was I think he was 75 when God promised him that.
Right.
So he was already beyond that.
I guess, like, I don't know, like, my question becomes, and I know, like, don't care what people think, but I think it's so easy to become unrelatable, because in a moment where somebody's going through something really, really difficult, us as Christians are like, will be hopeful, but they're like, but this is the reality of the situation. Like I've talked to many people that are like that, where they
Mhm.
they are Christians too, and it's to them it would be foolish to not accept the reality because that's what's happening. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, what's accepting the reality even mean?
I don't know. It's like if your family member got really sick and then
Mhm.
you're like, I want to hope that they're going to get better, but there's a good chance that they're not. So, you know
Mhm.
what? Let's just do the best we can with what we have now. Let's just make sure we make as many memories as we can now because we're probably not going to have them for that long.
And I think that's a I think people do that to avoid disappointment.
I think so too.
And I think that
Is that wrong?
no, it's not. I don't think it's between right and wrong. I think
Right.
it's between. Um, I think people need to stop thinking disappointment is the enemy. It's like
Yeah.
high expectations are great. Disappointment's always going to happen. It happens probably every single day for some people.
That's
So
true.
it's like I think I get to the point where I'm like, why even think about the disappointment? But
Yeah.
like I'm obviously a different type of person than probably
Yeah. I think
most.
I
But
think that's actually a really good point though. I've never thought about that before because typically all of that is based in fear of disappointment. It's
yeah.
like I if they do die, then man, I'm really going to be disappointed that we didn't do this or that
Mhm.
we didn't have this experience or I didn't make the most of that time, right?
Mhm.
Which yeah, again, I don't know if you can fault anybody for that.
No, it's just an incorrect way of thinking. That's all. Or an incorrect sounds like they are doing purposely something wrong, and I don't mean that. I just mean like they are established in a belief system that's wrong. It's like
Yeah.
to me, I don't know. I don't like worrying twice. It's
Uh-huh.
like I'll deal with the crazy stuff when the crazy stuff happens, not
Yeah.
before the crazy stuff happens.
Right.
Everyone worry. It's like I don't know. It's like if you take your example of a family member getting sick, it's like people grieve before they need to grieve.
Right.
And so they're worried this person's going to die. They're worried for the nth degree, and that's great. But now you're just so now if that person does die, you're doing it twice. So now you're grieving twice for the same
Right.
result.
So you're almost taking away from the time that you have now by everything that you are doing is based in fear of disappointment. So you're doing good things, like you're making the most of the time, but the only intention behind doing that is because you know in your head that they're not going to be around for very long. So it kind of takes away from everything that you do.
Yeah, there's no joy in that either. And
Yeah,
and now
that's true.
like if you do have a limited amount of time left with someone, and that's what the doctors are saying. Well, it's like I'd rather stay hope filled that this person's going to get healed, pray for
Yeah.
healing, continue on that course. I'd rather change the way that I live to make sure that I am giving my body the best support I can to make sure it's healed.
Hmm.
I think there's wisdom in multiple aspects of it, in how you get healthy, what you eat, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
obviously. But then on top of that, it's like so let's say the person does die. Like a disappointment for me is living like the person's already dead before they're dead. Now they die, and now you have the disappointment of looking back at the situation, going, "I wish I would have just made more memories with them. I wish I would have just laughed. I wish I would have just went out and did something rather than every time I see this
Yeah.
person, I just thought, oh, I don't have much time left." It's like, well, just go enjoy.
Right.
Both are
I,
disappointments for
I I
me.
think that the situation I'm describing is people doing that, but it's doing it out of the basis of the fear of losing them, or almost accepting the fact that yeah, like they're gonna be gone. Like I don't know.
I think no matter what, when you get that type of news, you're changing a little bit of
Right.
of what's going on. Like things are changing for
Right.
sure. Like you can't just walk into the room and assume that like the diagnosis never happened and this person in
Right.
front of you doesn't have 6 months to live or whatever it is that they were given. It's like there's still like it changes for sure.
So here's a question: is preparing for the worst not walking in hope? Because like yeah, let's say this person is now given 6 months to live. It's like okay, so is us thinking that they could be gone in 6 months, so doing everything we can to make sure those 6 months are amazing, a great experience, whatever. We do everything that we want to do with them so that we have no regrets, so to say, which that's kind of a silly thought, but is that not
What's preparing for
walking
the
in hope?
worst?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Somebody gave me an example one time of like this person was given only so long to live, and they like wrote letters to their family because they kind of thought that, yeah, like I'm probably am gonna die, and it's like,
Mhm.
is that the wrong thing to do? Because then you're kind of accepting the fact that you're gonna die. And again, we can't tell what's going on in somebody's head, right? You can't tell how they're dealing with it mentally. So
Mhm.
I don't know, but
Yeah, it's difficult. I think that there's things that wisdom is wisdom. Like
yeah,
I think that there's an aspect of wisdom in that for sure. If you're writing
yeah,
letters, that kind of stuff, and it's not accepting. I think it's just the mindset behind it, right? It's
right,
like you can say I'm not going to die, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to succumb to whatever is going on with this. But at the
mm-hmm,
end of the day, it's like I think that's why I'm always just like it's nice to prepare for those things before you're in the middle of those things,
yeah,
right?
that's
Like,
fair.
and I get that's the pipe dream, but at the same time, it's like that's why people say get your will in place now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like little things like that where you're like, well, what do you mean? Some guy might be saying like, oh, I'm 23 years old. Like, why would I want a will right
Hey,
now?
that's me right
Right?
now.
Yeah.
I'm like, a will
Yeah.
for what?
And it's like some people say like, we'll get life insurance. Well, I don't plan on dying. Well, it's like, yeah, I know we don't plan on it, but it's like, obviously we've seen crazy things happen in the world. So it's
Yeah,
like, it's better to have it now than not have it later.
yeah,
And then when you're actually in the middle of maybe a fight for your life or something like that, you don't have to think about the nitty gritty
right.
details. It's like, whatever.
Because
It's
that's
like,
almost like an extra thing you are now worrying about because you're like, man,
hmm
I didn't get this. So like,
yeah.
what's now gonna happen with, my house, my wife, my kids, etc. Right?
hmm
So
I
that's a
think
good
that
point.
Yeah, and I think that it's a difficult conversation to have because I think a lot of people have
Mm-hmm.
different, I don't know, mindsets when it comes to faith and hope
Yeah.
and healing and all these different things. But like the reality is that there's a lot of resistance in the world, like
Mm-hmm.
tons.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, the promises are what they are, but the enemy is going to do everything he can to make sure that you don't believe in God's word more than you believe in what you see or what you feel or what your emotions are telling you. And I think that's what makes these things very hard is the
Mm-hmm.
fact that there's resistance. It's not just the promises are yes and amen if you believe in them. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, you're a believer, yeah, but then what does a believer mean? Well, a believer and you can go so off into the deep end with this conversation because a genuine Christian like is a follower of Christ, right?
Yeah.
Which means that it impacts like Jesus is not just your savior, he's your Lord, which means that he's impacting your actions, he's impacting your daily disciplines.
Right.
Like when you say you prepare for the worst, look at Daniel. I've been on a big kick with Daniel. What did Daniel do when he was thrown into the lion's den? Like, did he prepare for the lion's den before it happened?
I guess faith wise, yes, but it's not like he was preparing to be like to go into a lion's den. Like,
Correct.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a way of preparing. I think that people have this way of not doing anything until they have to do something, and
Mm-hmm.
that's their way of preparing for the worst. Is like the worst is happening soon, or there's a chance it's going to happen, so I'm going to start preparing right
Right.
now. When in reality, you see people in the Bible that do it completely different, where they just and
Right.
I think a lot of Christians just don't live their life the way that they should, and I mean myself included.
Yeah.
Lots of the times, so
Same
it's like
here.
it's like
Yeah.
like where it's like, hey, what's your daily disciplines? Oh, you're a little tired today, so you're going to ditch the monotonous routine things that the Bible says we should do. I
Right.
think the Bible has a lot into it. I think it's easy to say, well, I'm healed. Yeah, you're healed. Of course you are. Yeah, you're filled with hope. Yeah, you're filled with joy. Yeah, it's peace. But people view it as a transaction more than a relationship, and the
Right.
transaction, I think, is a difficult spot to be in
Yeah.
because you are now doing something for the result, not doing something because
Yeah.
Jesus is Lord.
I think there's also like a huge difference between saying something and believing something.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
I've talked to many people in my life that say something and there is weight behind what they say because you can tell they're just so convicted that this is going to happen and you have no doubt about it just in the way that they say it. And there's people that say things where I'm like, do you really believe that though? Like I get that it almost feels more like wishful thinking, but they're
Mhm.
saying it so they're like, well, I'm speaking the word, but And again, you
Well,
can't
to
tell
me,
what's going
belief
on in
has
their head.
action. Like
Right. So
that's
almost like faith without works is dead.
yeah.
Hope without works is dead. And I guess faith and hope.
Well, faith is like, yeah, like the difference. I guess what I was saying before, where it's like you can have someone that says, "I believe that." I don't know. They might say something crazy, or they might have this new way of working out, or this new way of eating healthy, or this new diet that's
Yeah.
going to work. But it's like I don't believe you fully believe in it unless you're doing it. Like I'm like, do you really believe that it could do that? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, well, yeah, lots of people have proven it, but I'm like, your faith in God is something that's easy to talk about if you're a know-it-all, but it's something that you need to realize that it is action behind it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, the Bible says, I think it's in James chapter 1, somewhere in the 20s, I think it says that um, faith without works is dead. Well, it doesn't say that. It says it talks about James is making this thing, the part of like basically if you don't act on what you believe in, you're going to deceive yourself. If you
Right.
just read the word, you're going to deceive yourself, which means you're going to fool yourself, which is crazy. So you're going to read truth in the word of God, but if you don't apply the truth that you're reading, James says you will deceive yourself, meaning you will lead yourself down a path that's not right, which
Right.
is crazy. And I think that there's an aspect of know-it-all in that kind of that you see with a lot of people and many people in any group. They
Yeah.
know everything. It's like they'll tell you
Hey,
all the new ways of
that
doing
was a great
things.
reminder, Pastor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think most people are meaning good by that, and they're not trying to be a know-it-all, but
Yeah.
they're not realizing that the reminder doesn't go very far if there's no action behind it. And it's like I've been saying that all the time. Like I've said, I really want people to grasp onto the fact that when the lion's den hit for Daniel, he didn't have to change anything.
Right.
Like that's the goal. That's the goal. Your diagnosis hits, your personal private habits are so concrete and in place that you don't need to change what you're doing.
Right.
That's it. You just continue to do what you always did. And that to me brings peace and hope in its own because
Yeah.
there's not much more you have to do. Like it's like, of course, get the help that you need to go find a different way that you can beat this or whatever it might be. But I think there's a lot of peace in the fact that when Daniel hit the lion's den, or even when the law came out, right? It's like,
Yeah.
no, he was just like, I'm good. I
It's
can,
like
I'll keep
nothing's gonna
doing.
change for me.
Yeah. And
So
it's like, and he was fine dying for that. In the
right.
Bible, like Christianity is not a get out of jail for free card. It's not a get through life unscathed. It's not a you will not be hurt. Like Jesus says there will be trials and tribulations, and he
Mhm.
does say that if you follow me, you will experience challenges, you will experience persecution, you will
Right.
experience all these different things. And so I think the gospel has been watered down quite a bit for us to think that if we just believe in Jesus, the benefits will outweigh everything.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes the benefits won't outweigh what some people would describe as a way more enjoyable life when I was doing what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
leading myself, going and doing whatever I wanted to do. And it's like, that's fair, but there's no purpose, there's no drive, there's no calling, there's no, I mean, the best word would be purpose. Like,
Yeah, it's
what's the
like
purpose
what
then?
yeah, what is your purpose
Yeah.
then? Like
And
what are you doing? Or are you fulfilled? And typically the answer to that is like people will like, if you ask somebody, "Are you fulfilled?" They'll say, "Yeah." And it's okay. Well, in what? Oh, well, I like my job, or I'm happily married. And it's like, okay, but that only goes so far.
mhm.
And again, that's something that people say, but do they truly believe it? Do they truly feel it? You know?
Totally. And I think that like you see a worldly hope and a biblical hope, and the biblical hope is always a foundation of character of God.
Yeah.
And the worldly hope is what you say of wishful thinking. So the difference between wishful thinking and hope is the fact that wishful thinking is based on what you see, and hope is based on what you believe,
Right.
right?
So, question there then. So, wisdom, we talked kind of about wisdom and hope, how they do mesh together, and you have to have both,
Yep.
right? But maybe this is a silly question, but is wisdom based off of what you do see?
Wisdom?
Yeah. Or would wisdom just be completely separate from that? Because, yeah, like,
Well, I mean, I just spoke on this, and I'm probably going to say this in multiple podcasts, but um, I guess What do you mean wisdom on what you do see?
I don't know, like before we talked about the fact that, you get a diagnosis, whatever, like wisdom is that you've already, yeah, you have your will in place. Like you have that stuff kind of figured out. Go get the help that you can get, right? Like that's wisdom, which, yeah, I guess is based off of
That
what you
I would
do
agree with
see.
that, but wisdom's not based on what you do see. Wisdom is based on what you obey, I
Mm,
think, because I was talking to someone a little
that's
while
good.
ago and they're just like, okay, well, I ever since I came to church, ever since I gave my life to Jesus, it's like my business has taken off. I get all these opportunities that I've never gotten before. Things that I've applied for in the past just didn't happen. And I said, that's fair, and that's sweet that you got those benefits. But I think
Hmm.
it's not just because you came to church. I think that a lot of your ways of talking, your ways of deciding, your decisions every single day changed on a minute level. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like
Yep.
you didn't realize you did it, but now instead of in that one scenario, instead of what you used to react out of anger, you now reacted out of peace a little bit, and you actually made the proper decision next rather than
Hmm.
it's like a simple analogy is that when you get into a fight, someone who lashes out and yells and calls someone, marriages do this all the time. There's usually one fiery person in it. And it's like that one person, when they're upset, wisdom says, I don't want to have the argument when I'm upset. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because wisdom
Hmm.
says I'm going to do something or say something I don't mean
Right.
because I'm not holding my tongue right now. Like
Hmm.
I'm mad, you know?
Yep.
And I think that's where we find with wisdom is the fact that it's just knowing how to make the right decision. Well, what's the right decision? Well, I don't know.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like every single place you walk and every new job opportunity, every new marriage opportunity, buying a house even like you guys just did. And it's like
Yeah,
there's wisdom in that. Well, what's the wisdom?
for sure.
Well, it differs, and God will
Right.
lead you in that. And I believe that there's also certain things that are just certain things in
Yep.
life. It's like you're buying a house and like whether the hot water tank bursts in the first month of you owning it, it was not a wisdom issue.
No.
It's a people made that and they're made to fail at some
Yeah.
point. You know what I
It's
mean? They
gonna
all do.
malfunction at some point.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, you just did that. And then it's someone, well, gee, God says that his promises that he'll always take care. And it's like, if you're dwindling him taking care of you as far down as your water heater broke, my hope in that situation would be, I know the hope I have in God is that we'll figure this out easily. It's not that, oh my gosh, or what, like most people go, oh my goodness, this happened now. Oh, my car broke down. Oh, and I honestly always flip the script all the time in my
Yeah.
head, no matter what, that, okay, it's another opportunity for God to show me what he can do. It's another
Yeah.
opportunity for something to happen over here. This has happened in multiple different
Mhm.
scenarios and with multiple different people where it's like something terrible happens and something beautiful comes out of it. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's, I think, perspective. I think God's doing this for most believers, but most believers, maybe not most, but a lot of believers aren't even aligned in their thinking
Yeah.
to even see or observe the fact that there's good in this because they're so pessimistic
Yep.
they might and cynical that you're just
For
like,
sure.
well, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
if someone handed you $1 million cash in a duffel bag, they'd be like, well, they'd figure out a way to be cynical about it, and you're just like,
Yeah.
holy
There's
man,
o
like,
and there's always a like a bad side to look at everything, you know what I mean? And like you were just saying, like we just bought a house. That whole experience, I'll tell the whole story, but I would say that there was like a lot of hope in that we experienced, which was cool.
yeah,
But pretty much what happened is we'd been looking for a house. We ended up finding a house that we liked. We made an offer, didn't get that one. Like the housing market, everybody else is kind of
yeah,
crazy. So we make an offer on the first house, doesn't work out. It's like whatever. Move on to the next one, doesn't work out, whatever. Then we get to this other one that we really, really, really liked. We were like, man, we love this place. We can definitely see ourselves here. We make like uh, a generous offer, which at the time, like we loved it so much that we were willing to pay more for it, which would have limited us in other areas because we were willing to make that a priority. Um, and it would have limited our life a little bit. So we make this offer, whatever, offer night happens, we don't get the house. And we're like, what? Like, we made a pretty generous offer. Like, who bid more than us? We end up finding out that the person that they sold the house to offered less than us. And we're like, what? Like, how does this really make any sense? And in that moment, Allie and I are like sitting in the car because we got the news in the car and we had been like praying about it. Everything felt right. And it was just like it didn't work out. So in that moment, we're just like, my goodness, like I don't even want to look for a house anymore because we just put all this time and effort into thinking that this was the place. In our minds, this was the best. In our minds, at the time, we were praying about it and really believing that this was our house.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work out. And again, there was like really no reason that it shouldn't have worked out
Correct. Yeah.
because we had made an offer that was
Higher.
like, it was like
Yep.
$10,000 more, which,
Yep.
it seems silly to not take that, but whatever.
Totally.
So we kind of get down, we're kind of down in the dumps a little bit. And we're like, man, like this sucks. Like, why did this not work out? And then in the moment, I can kind of remember we're driving home back to our apartment and we're like, and I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe this wasn't our place and maybe God has something better for us. And that's so easy to say, but so hard to believe because you
Mhm.
just saw something that you really wanted and you thought was the best and it didn't work out. And now it's like, okay, well, you have two options. You can either go down the option of this sucks. We're never going to find a place that great again. I don't understand why we didn't have it. That was supposed to be our house. So we're just going to, pout about it. But Allie and I were kind of both like, you know what? Yeah, like let's believe for more. Let's
Mhm.
believe for something better. Week goes by, another house pops up on the market. Actually, this house didn't pop up on the market. It had been sitting for a long time. So we make an offer on this house, and it had been sitting for over a month, okay? Meaning nobody's making offers on the
Mhm.
home, at least nothing they're willing to accept.
Mhm.
We make an offer that, like, they should accept. We're expecting it to be accepted. In, like, very late in the day, close to when they had to come back to us, they let us know we didn't get the house. Somebody made an offer on the exact day, which was just a tad bit higher than our offer. So we didn't get it. So we're like, oh, okay, like I guess this isn't the place either.
Nope.
Again, doesn't make sense. House had been sitting for 30 days. We made like a good offer. You would think we were buying the house, not buying the house. So at this point, we're like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? Obviously, our belief was God has something better. A couple weeks go by. We end up seeing a house that we like on the app. We don't have time to go look at it. So we would just decided, you know what, like we're not going to have time to look at this. It was on the market for like 4 days. So we just dismissed it. Ending up on that 4th day when offers were due for the house, we didn't have a chance to make an offer, but nobody else made an offer. So then we're like, what? Like, did nobody make an offer on this house? Because now this means anybody can make an offer at any time and they have to respond within however many hours you give them to respond, right? So we go look at the house that night and we're like, this place is great. It's in the area we wanted. It's well below what we were going to spend on this other place that was in the area that we wanted. It had everything we wanted. Like we had such specific things. It had to like have 3 bedrooms on the main floor. It had to be somewhat open concept, like all these different things. And it had a good sized yard. Like everything seemed like it was working out. So then we're like, man, like maybe this is a place. We make an offer, we get the house. It's like well under what we were going to spend on the first one, exactly what we wanted in the exact area that we wanted. And it was just like, oh, like this was it. And
Mhm.
everything came together. And I'm so glad that in that time we decided to have hope and decide, you know what, like God's got something better for us. If this isn't it and there's a reason that this didn't work out, there must be a reason as to why this didn't work out. And it was 100% right. And now we're moved into that house and we love it and
Yeah.
it's perfect for us. And it was just crazy because it just showed like God's faithfulness.
Mhm.
So
Well, I think there's always waiting involved in hope.
yeah.
And that's what makes people not hope filled is the fact that they thought that the hope would just mean like this is going to happen. This is going
Uh-huh.
to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like you said something in there where it's like, well, we made the offer, someone offered less, and then you're like, well, and then we were like, it's hard to believe that God has something better for you in that
Mhm.
moment. And it's like it's easy to say, but hard to believe. And it's like it's true, but I think there's the how you wait too, right? Like the Bible talks about stewardship, the Bible talks about gratitude, the Bible talks about a lot of those different things. Stewardship obviously is the principle of taking care of what you currently have.
Right.
Gratitude is obviously being thankful for what you currently have. And I think I see a lot of Christians that do those two things terribly. They don't take care of what they have right now, and they're not grateful for what they have right now. They're
Right.
always their consumerist mindset. They always
Yeah.
want something more.
It's
They
more,
always
more,
want the
more,
next
more.
best thing. I mean, I was like this. Jessica, I'm not wearing it today by accident, but Jessica bought me a nice watch for my birthday. 2 days after I got the watch, I was looking at other watches. And I'm like, what in the world is wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't because I wasn't grateful for what she bought me. I was just like, oh my goodness, like this is sweet. This is the watch game now. I want to get some more watches. I want to figure it out.
Yeah.
I didn't end up buying another watch, but it's like, what in the world? And that I'm just saying that because that's the American and Canadian consumerist mentality at work right there.
Yeah.
You get something that you've always kind of wanted. And I was looking at watches for a while, and I was looking at the cheapest watches I could possibly find just to fit a look.
Yeah.
And Jess got me a nice watch, like a nice, like more starter level, but still more expensive watch than just something you'd buy anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so grateful for it when I got it, but the consumerist mindset in me was
next?
like, yeah, like maybe I should get a second one now, you know? And then like my brother-in-law is super into, like Jessica's brother's super into watches, so he got me like a box that it winds your automatic watches. So you put your watch in it, and it holds your watch stable because it has that piece of styrofoam in it.
Yep.
And then it slowly turns because the automatic watches need movement in order for the battery to stay charged, right?
Gotcha.
You never have to change the battery.
Yep.
So my watch is automatic, and so but it had 2 slots in this box. So I was like, well, I got to buy a second watch, right? I still haven't bought a second watch, but I'm just saying I'm just saying no one is free from the consumerist mentality.
Yeah.
And I think that if you don't know how to steward your things well, and you don't know how to be grateful for what you currently have, then hope might not ever work for you.
100%. And I think a lot of that has to do with fulfillment, because I think there's so many unfulfilled people in life. And I spoke about this with our young adults like a couple weeks ago, and people search for fulfillment in stuff. You know, it's like the most common thing ever. Just like you said, you get one thing and then your mind instantly goes to the next thing. And there's like all these Christians that are like, you know, I believe in Jesus, so Jesus should be enough for me, but their walk doesn't back that up. So then they're like, why do I feel so fulfilled? Because I'm a Christian. And it's because your priorities are so out of whack. Your priority is me, 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 and me, when Jesus was like, hey, listen, God number one, you know, then people number 2, and then, you know, love people like you love yourself. So, you know, you still need to take care of yourself, but the priorities are so out of whack that we only care, you know, about us, and we all get caught up in this consumeristic mentality because that's kind of the world we live in, and we search for fulfillment in those things, right? So we want to get the next thing. We want to buy the bigger house. We want to buy a nicer car. We want to buy another like watch, whatever it could be. And the reason is because those things bring us fulfillment for a moment, you know? And that moment could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a year. Like everything has a different amount of time that you feel satisfied for, or that you feel like fulfilled for, where that hole inside is like, you know what? Yeah, I really like this car. I'm so glad that I bought it. And then the feeling goes away. And then you keep searching for it. And people get so exhausted and burnt out searching for that fulfillment that they think they have nothing else to offer others, and also they got no time for God. And it's like, well, of course you feel unfulfilled. Of course you feel hopeless, because you've spent years and years and years searching for hope and fulfillment in things that will only bring it to you for a moment, which is fleeting. You know, it's like King Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes. He's like, I didn't deny myself anything. I gave myself everything my eye ever wanted.
Yep.
He was the king. He could literally have anything. He's like, it's a wisp in the wind. It's nothing, right? And we are actors like Jim Carrey. You know, he says, you know, I wish everybody could be as rich and famous and have everything they ever wanted to realize that it wasn't the answer. We don't know that he's not outwardly a Christian. I don't think he's a Christian. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he does have a walk with God. Who knows? But it's like we're being told that from people that don't even have a walk with God, yet still we find ourselves so stuck in that mentality. And I think it takes literally every day deciding like, nope, like that's not what I want. Even with us buying a house, it's like, we did renovations for 2 weeks, and you think we'd be done. You know, we painted the walls, we put in new carpets, and it's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
It's like, well, now we want to do this. Now we want to do this. And you can live your entire life doing that, and that was kind of a realization for us. Is like, when is enough enough?
Mhm.
Well, it's never enough because none of this stuff is ever going to bring us a sense of enough.
No,
So
no.
that has
It's
to be found in Jesus,
I
in
think
the only
it's
true thing.
understanding. Like if you think back to Joseph, so Joseph got sold into slavery,
Yeah.
but we have to back up even more. Joseph received the multicolored jacket.
The favorite son.
Yeah, his life was going pretty good where he was.
Yeah.
And he had many brothers and sisters. Then he had a dream that he felt so vividly and strongly that one day basically all of his family would be bowing down to him. So this guy was on cloud nine. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's a dream. You know what I mean?
This
Like for
is
this guy, he's like, they were bowing down to me, and he tells them, then he gets sold into slavery. Then
Yeah.
he's in Potiphar's house, right? And so Potiphar's house is great, but the fact of the matter is that every place that Joseph went, he stewarded well.
Yeah.
He never had the palace of Potiphar's wife. He was the manager of the home. That's what he
Yeah.
was. And then he went to prison after that. And what
Yeah.
did he do in prison? He stewarded what he was doing there well again,
Yeah.
to the degree of going up to Pharaoh one day and trying to interpret a dream for him there, and then found himself second in command, right? And you're just like, wow. But that's because stewardship and gratefulness in there. So I think like one of the biggest things is that hope, one of the biggest eroders of hope is waiting.
Right.
Right? It's just like, well, I don't see what I know God's promised. You're in the waiting.
Yeah.
Well, God says steward what you have every single day. Like, and it's
Mhm.
the little things. It's like me and Jess pulled into our driveway a couple, maybe a month ago now, and we were getting some landscaping done, and we had like this massive pile of, I'm saying like, it's probably 10 feet tall by like 20 feet round of like just debris in our driveway. I mean, like this big mound.
Yeah.
It had all the river rock and all the just tree roots and just stuff that we were cleaning up to make our kind of our yard look better.
Mhm.
And I just finished mowing the lawn that day. So we get home, it's like 9 p.m. maybe, and it's like sunset. So you can still see the entire yard. And our driveway is a complete mess. I mean, like, it looks like a land storm
disaster.
happened. And I pull in, and I look at Jess. I'm like, man, look at that mowed lawn. I said, that looks so good. And then she's like, oh, it does look good. And then we start laughing our heads off in the driver and passenger seat. She's like, look at us. We're looking past a heaping pile of just garbage on our driveway. I mean, like, it looks terrible. Curb appeal is brutal. And we're looking at like the minute detail of my lines on the mowing of our yard, and we're like, oh yeah, look at that yard. Like, and it sounds so stupid, but for a moment you realize that it's like, that's what I'm talking about though.
Yeah.
When I'm saying being grateful for the small things,
Mhm.
it's like, where are you right now? It's like, okay, you go back to, you don't get that house. Well, you have a great apartment. You were paying rent at this place. It's a beautiful
100%.
place. You go back, you have a TV on the wall. You have a nice bed to sleep in. You have a nice kitchen where you can make stuff in. You have a
Yeah.
dog. You're enjoying life. You're enjoying
Mhm.
life. And so for me, it's like, okay, the waiting's actually not that bad when you can learn to be grateful for what you do
sure.
have. And so
Yeah.
there's a stewardship, and there's a gratitude that's involved in hope that I think people don't really talk about often.
Yep.
And if you don't have those two things, then hope will always be wishful thinking, because you're always trying to get out of something you're in. When for us, it's like, Jess used to say it to me all the time, where it's like, if this is for us, we won't have to work insanely hard to get it.
Right.
Yes, we worked hard to save money for it. Yes, we worked hard to take care of the things that we needed to get ourselves into a position where we could get this thing or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, we shouldn't have to work that hard to get it. If it's like we are bending over backwards and doing things we never thought we'd have to do to buy a house, let's say, it's like, well, maybe then the house just isn't
Maybe
for
it's
us.
not for us. Yeah.
And maybe we just go, you know, we love where we are right now. We love the memories we're making. We have a beautiful daughter, some dogs, a house that we enjoy, where we can stay dry, warm, and fed.
Yep.
And that's beautiful. Let's make memories while we do that.
Yeah.
And that's where the stewardship and the gratitude
Yeah.
comes in. And people don't have that because they always, like I said, the consumerism, they got to turn off their Instagram or just follow the
Yeah.
people that can bring you hope and encouragement and God's word.
Yeah.
Otherwise, stop the comparison, because the comparison's going to ruin you.
Because I think the waiting is also, like, when people think of waiting, they just think of neutral territory where it's like, yeah, I'm willing to wait, But as soon as something goes wrong, bad,
Mhm.
the opposite way, then it's like, okay, I'm out. Like with Joseph, for example, it's like he stewarded well at Potiphar's. He ends up in jail.
Mhm.
Like it's not like it was rewarded. He
Mm-mm.
ends up in a place even worse than he was at before, but that didn't stop him from stewarding
No,
well
but what did
where
that
he
show you?
went.
It showed you that you're not looking for promotion from humans. You're looking for promotion from God.
Right.
And human promotion was actually a demotion for Joseph in that in
Yeah.
that story, and he went to prison after he stewarded well. So
Yeah.
everyone goes, "Well, I stewarded well and I ended up here." Well, it's because what are you looking for? Your boss to give you the promotion? Are you looking for this
Yeah.
other thing to happen for you? Or are you realizing that God has a plan to put you in a place that's far greater than any person could put you,
For sure.
right? It's like, oh, great, you make money and you make a lot more money, but you're way more anxious, way more heavy weighted, way more having a tough time every single day, keeping hope filled because your life is so busy, so jam packed that you can't even enjoy what God's given you. Like
Yeah.
that's
For
people
sure.
want human promotion over like biblical like God promotion
Yeah.
because I think it just comes down to a lot of the comparison where you're just like, oh
Well,
my
it's
goodness.
also because it feels fulfilling, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like you talked so much about how hope is not a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Hope's not a feeling,
Mm-mm.
but it is to most people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why most people don't ever experience true hope. But I don't know. One of the biggest things that has always gotten me through is realizing that, like, God has been faithful this whole time. Like, there's never been a time in my life where I felt like he didn't do his part. You know what I mean? It was like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we were waiting, but it worked out. And, like, for example, with our apartment, like, Allie and I decided to get married when she was still in school. One income family. We were pretty strapped. We're looking for an
Oh, why'd you
apartment.
guys decide to get married when she was still in school? I thought the plan was that
Yeah,
you were
I
gonna
got
wait
some props to Zach
five
right
years.
there. Yeah, the plan was to wait until she was done. But anyways, plans changed. We decided to get married when she still has a year of school left. We're now budgeting, planning, and realizing that it's gonna be tough. Like we're going to make sacrifices,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's okay. We're willing to make sacrifices. But when we're looking for an apartment, we're like, man, again, we have an area that we're believing for, and we have a place specifically that we really want. Like we wanted a place in Allie's mind that was cutesy, something that she was proud to bring people to, that, what she would host in, and she wouldn't feel like you're in the dumps of, the North End and we're living there. So anyways,
Mm-hmm.
again, it's not like we had to live there either
Yeah.
way, but we're looking for this apartment, and I don't really care because it doesn't matter. Our budget was like a pretty low budget where you can find apartments in this, price range, but they're not in great areas. And our budget was like just over $1,000. So we're like, okay, looking. We found nothing, and we're getting like close to the time that we're getting married. Again, faith, like full faith. I'm like, God, like you have something for us. There's gonna be something amazing. We're in this waiting period, but we're believing, and we know that this is, going to be the one, or that there is going to be one. End up finding a brand new build 5 minutes from the church. For some reason, it's priced at our exact budget,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like beautiful. We think it's a scam. So we go show up to take a tour, and we end up assuming that it is a scam because the lady tells us, no, actually, we don't have any for this price. I don't know why it's listed like that. Sorry, we don't. So we leave there and we're like, what in the world? Like, God, this wasn't it? Like, really? So, anyways, we're back in faith. We're like, no, you know what? We're believing for something. And again, I was like crazy doing research, paying attention to the market, seeing what popped up. Something pops up like 2 weeks later. Same place, same price, whatever. I call. She's like, yep, we have one available. Would you like it? I'm like, yes. Boom, we get it. And the rest is history. Like
Mm-hmm.
we believed, we put faith in. It ended up being like exactly what we were believing for. It was honestly better than what we thought we ever could have had. And it was just like, it was the best thing ever. But through that waiting period, there was so much like, yeah, hope, faith, and realizing that the reality says we're going to be living in a place that we're probably not going to love, but our faith said something different. And
Mhm.
again, it's just like, it's now a part of our testimony of like, man, this was amazing. And that's what really helped us with buying our house, because we were like, with the apartment, it was exactly what we wanted in the exact area. Like everything was great. Why would this not be the same? Like,
Mhm.
why would we not believe that God doesn't have something better for us? And yeah, like that was
Well, I think that's what
the difference maker.
fulfillment is biblically. I think it's you finding your place in what God's doing,
Hmm.
right? And I think a lot of people, their hope come and their prayers are like that too. And I don't think it's ill intention, but they'll pray like, I thank you, God, that this place is ours.
Right.
And it's like, my rebuttal every time is, what if he has something better and cheaper?
Yeah.
Or what if he has something you like even more that you're gonna make even more memories at? What if the place is
Yeah.
even better, bigger, nicer yard, whatever it is that you kind of had? The aspect of what we pray for, I think we have to realize that we are to align our desires with God's desires,
Yeah.
right? And when we learn to do that, it's really beautiful and it's different. And then you don't have, because that to me would still, so if I go, okay, like me and Jess are, if we were looking at a house, it's like, okay, I thank you, God, that this is the house. I thank you that we get it for under listing. I thank you that we get it for blah 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 blah
Hmm.
blah blah blah. Fantastic, right? I'm praying all those prayers. Then we walk in, we don't get the house. Well,
Hmm.
now my hope is gone because
Yeah.
and my faith is gone, to be honest, because I just prayed to God that this would happen.
Yep.
And then I have to answer all these questions from other people that go, well, didn't you pray for that? Didn't you pray
Yeah.
for this? And it's like, well, yeah, but I think it's not that
Didn't
I'm praying
happen.
wrong, but it's like I also would rather align with what God
A
has
hundred
for me,
percent.
right? And so for me, it's like, then I just go, you know what? God's got something better. Well,
Yep.
that looked like the perfect house. It ticked every box. Throw your checklist away because it's like God's checklist is better.
You
Like,
just read my mail, man. That was exactly what happened.
is it?
Like in our house situation, we were doing that exact thing. It was like we prayed for that specific house. We're like, this is our house, and then it didn't work out. And then it was like, but it checked all the boxes. Everything was perfect. And then it took the realization after of like, wait, wait,
Hmm.
wait. But God probably actually has something way better than this. And that's exactly what happened. And exactly what you just said. It was under list price in the same area. Like it's just unexplainable as to how in a market like this where houses don't sit for more than a day, like and on offer nights they go for 50 to $100,000 more, but our situation was different. And I
Hmm.
think that is I think the one of the biggest killers of hope as well is other people.
Hmm.
Because something you said in your message was,
Other people or comparison to other people?
other people,
Okay.
because people tell you their experience, and then they tell it to you as if this is going to be your experience. It's
Hmm.
like, yeah, when we bought our house, oh my God, like there were so many people that we talked to that was like, yeah, it was a grind. It was terrible. We ended up spending really more than we wanted to, but at least we're in our place. And it was so easy to align with that thinking because that's what everybody thinks. I mean, the housing market, yeah, it was nuts.
Yep.
We made bids on houses where we got outbid by 60, 80, $100,000. And it was like in the moment, it was so easy to lose hope because even, your realtor's doing their job and they're telling you, you should make probably a pretty competitive offer on this house, which again, use wisdom in that. But it doesn't mean that God doesn't have something better for you, and you need to be in tune with him and listen to him. Other people are going to give you their best advice, but their best advice doesn't mean that that's what's true for your life. And I think a lot of what it has to do is comparison, because again, you're comparing your situation to theirs, and you're like, we're so similar, so this should be similar. But one of the big things you said, which I think again, this is ties right along with one of the biggest killers of hope, is you got everybody else's problems in your pocket. Like with social media nowadays, with everything being so cynical and news and whatnot, like
Hmm.
the amount of problems and the amount of comparison that we're doing, like as soon as we experience something in our life, we go look at whose lives we can compare it to. It's like, this is the situation I'm going through. For example, I have a sick family member. Well, who do I know that's had a sick family member that had this exact type of thing? Well, I want to go talk to them and I want to see, what their experiences was, because then I can know what to base my idea of truth off of, because I can base it off of what their experience was. When it's like, if you do that, that's great, but you are limiting God because you are now basing what you're believing for and your truth, so to say, off of somebody else's experience, which could be completely different from the best that God had for you.
Right.
You
You're
know?
just not in faith.
Yeah.
As simple as that. I think yeah, I read a book, I think it was called Taking the Limits Off God. And I understood the concept of it for sure. But that's what it seems like. It's you're putting faith in the fact that you do everything like the other person. And it's
Right.
like, don't get me wrong, it's nice to feel encouraged when someone has beat something you have. Like the testimonies we have, God's created them for a reason, for sure.
Mhm.
Like for us to feel fulfilled, more fulfilled, I guess. Fulfilled might be the wrong word, but
Yeah.
at least feel like we find some type of joy or peace in the fact that someone else might have gone through this before and they've conquered it.
Right.
It, if anything, it just reestablishes the fact that God's done it before. He'll do it
Yeah.
again. If you haven't yet got to the Bible where you're like, I believe in the word from the mouth of God, period, right? From
Yeah.
the Bible. But if it's, most people have to see something else in order for them to believe for it too. So they still go back to the, I need to see with my own eyes rather than simply just believing what the word says. And
Right.
and the word is saying, no, believe this. This is what you need to believe. This is what it says in my word. I've promised you this.
Yep.
Don't try to have to confirm what I said in my word by asking someone how it worked for them to make sure that this is a confirmation of my word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, it gets a little bit ridiculous. And the Bible is very, very different in, well, you mentioned Ecclesiastes before. And there's a verse that was in here that I had that brought me back to Ecclesiastes. And it talks about fulfillment in a roundabout way, but Ecclesiastes 3:11 says he has set eternity in the human heart, which basically means that you will always feel unfulfilled unless you set your heart on eternity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like we were created for a longing that earth cannot satisfy,
Yes.
that a house cannot satisfy, that a marriage can't satisfy, that kids can't satisfy, not because something's wrong with you, but because something's right. Like you have eternity in your heart and you don't want that to go away. And it doesn't mean that we just sit here dumb till he comes, hoping that eternity is the thing that we go up to. But at the same time, how much easier would it have been in the beginning stages of, let's say, of you guys getting your house or looking into getting a house, not getting the house, sorry, but your first offers on the first couple houses, getting your feet wet in the market.
Yeah.
How much easier would that experience have been if you went into your first house going, if we don't get this, it's all good. Our apartment's amazing. You know what?
Yeah.
Even if we have kids one day, we have an extra bedroom in there. We could make it work for a bit. Like we could still have fun. We could still enjoy ourselves. We can make memories. If that was your demeanor the entire time, and it might be now in your house because you've learned to get over that hump of not needing something new in order to fulfill a dream that you have. You know what I mean? It's like you can just enjoy life and go,
Yeah.
I can do it here. Everyone who has this idea that I need to get to here in order to make this work, there's someone in the world that is defying that right now.
Right.
There's someone in the world right now that wanted kids so badly, and that was what set on their heart, that they're making it. I mean, my mom and uncles and aunts grew up in a room that was probably half the size of majority of someone's room, people's rooms today. And I'm talking like it was probably, if I were to guess, I walked in there, it was maybe 8 feet wide by maybe 10 feet long. And they had 4 kids in that one bedroom.
Right.
They had 8 kids.
That's nuts.
Then you walked across the hall and there was another 8 by 10 room with 4 kids. It was double bunk beds in both rooms. And it's like, and we grew up in that house. Grandkids, we went into that house. We only had selling that house when my grandma died, and we had to sell the house. And it's like, but you'd walk up into these bedrooms, and your aunts and uncles and your mom would be like, yeah, 4 of us girls slept there, and 4 of us boys slept there. And the memories that my uncles and aunts talk to us about are hilarious and fun and sound like the best childhood ever. Meanwhile, they have a quarter of what most people need before they can start a family. And you're like, whoa. And this is what I'm talking about with the stewarding, the gratitude, the fulfillment. It's like I'm actually almost scared sometimes for society in 100 years from now, because what are they going to need in order for them to feel like they lived a fulfilled life in societal standards? It's like, you're never going to have enough money. You're never going to have the perfect job. Your marriage is never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the best house. You're never going to have enough space. You're not going to have a big enough yard. You're not going to have a nice enough tractor. You're not going to have a nice enough car. if you always need something in order to do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people
Yeah.
don't, and that's it's against the consumeristic mentality that we have in life right now, because you want it. I want it though. I want it. And it's like, great, but like your kids don't need that.
Yeah.
Like Brooke is at home. She's 9 months old, and she's just stoked to be crawling on a floor. Like, and
Yeah.
and you buy her like this $20 toy from
She don't
HomeSense,
even care.
and then she'll find a bottle cap on the ground, and she'll be like,
Yeah.
and she drops her toy, and she's just
Yeah.
loving life. Well, she hasn't been into the consumerist mentality that you
Yeah.
need something more. It's like you can give her a remote without the batteries in it, and
Yeah.
she'll be super pumped.
And the
Like,
truth is, life's not about more, because we look at that and we go, okay, but if I did have that, I'd be pretty happy. Like, sure, I've heard it said, like, money makes life easier. Yes, money doesn't bring fulfillment. And also, like, yeah, like you said, you're never gonna have a nice enough house, a nice enough car. Some people in the world do have a nice enough of all those things. They have the most expensive house they could buy. They have the most expensive cars they could buy. Still, they're going, it's not the answer. So it's like, even when you have it all, it's not like, that was never supposed to be the focus. That was never supposed to be what was enough, so to say. So you can search for it all you want, but you're going to feel tired, exhausted, like you never have enough, and burnt out for the fact that you're just searching, but you're never finding. But one of the things, sorry, I quickly wanted to say about comparison is, like, comparison is the thief of joy. That's an often thing said, but I think it could be said similarly. Comparison is the thief of hope too. And the funny thing is like with Daniel in the lion's den, it's when he found out he was going in the lion's den, he wasn't looking to talk to somebody else who had gone into the lion's den and survived. No, he was just like, okay, I'll go in. My experience is probably going to be different than most other people's, because I believe in a God that, this is nothing to, right?
Yep.
And could he have gone, oh my goodness, every other person that's gone in the lion's den got eaten, and this isn't looking good for me? He could have.
Yep.
But that was completely not in faith.
Oh,
So
no. If he had social media,
he
Dan would have died in the lion's den.
He probably would have
for
been dead.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's the hard part, is that we talk about fulfillment, but the reason that nothing in this world satisfies any human being is because from day one we weren't created to be in this world.
Right.
You know what I mean? From day one.
Yeah.
Like, God created the Garden of Eden and everything was perfect in there. That's genuinely where human beings were created to live.
Right.
With God in the garden. Like, that's where we were created to live. And then the fall of man happened, and now we're all in this world, and now everyone's looking for satisfaction in all the wrong places, and we're looking for it in worldly desires, when realizing that God didn't create you for this world, and that's why. And I think when it comes back down to it, we have to realize that that's the only thing that will ever satisfy us, is the fact that the relationship with God is first, of course. Well, and we say that all the time, but that ultimately that's what's going to satisfy you beyond measure. That's what's going to fulfill you beyond measure. There's too many examples around the world right now of people who have 99.99999% less than you, and they're happier, and they're more
100%.
joy filled, and they're more peace filled, and you're like, what the heck? And yeah, hope and joy, they're all interconnected. Everything's interconnected. Hope, joy, peace, all of those things. Because, and once you learn to have them and allow God to fulfill that aspect of you, you do experience joy, because you can experience joy in the moment we're in right now. You know what I mean? You can experience joy in the moment of driving home today, because you have an amazing wife to drive home to. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you have a marriage to work on. There's someone else that would give everything they had to work on a marriage, but their spouse passed away.
Yeah.
And they're like, I would take all the problems back, all the yelling, all the bickers, all the discussions. And meanwhile, this guy's complaining about his life because him and his wife bicker a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, are you kidding me? Like that. And that's the perspective. I was talking to Josh on this podcast yesterday, and Josh Betcher, and he was talking about how when he was in his teenage years, he genuinely had like a demonic experience often at night. And he said, I would hear like screams in my head and like things happening that was 100% demonic. He said, and I could not get away from it. And he said, then finally he was from Germany. Long story, he got to Winnipeg, went to one of our youth nights at, like, he's older than I am, so at like the last St. Mary's Road one.
Yeah.
And Russ Schrader prayed for him, and he's like, dude, I escaped out of the sanctuary when he started preaching just to go have a cigarette outside because I was like, I don't want to listen to this stuff. And then Russ came and talked to him, and he basically said like, well, I can show you who Jesus is right now. We can pray a prayer and you can accept him into your life. And
Yeah.
Josh just said at that moment, I thought like, okay, well, this is the test I'm going to give God then. If he's really real, something will happen. And he said he started to weep uncontrollably once he started praying.
Wow.
And he said the moment that happened, all of those demonic kind of like daydreams and nightmares that he had left. And then he said he was in his room, and he said he was crying multiple nights because he said his mind was so sound that he could hear mosquitoes buzzing in his room, and it brought him great joy.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, wait, you mean mosquitoes? Like the ones that everyone can, like
That
the
everyone
ones that we come to
hates?
work the next morning and go, oh, there's a mosquito in my room. It was the worst thing. And he's like, no, I was crying because I was so happy I could hear the buzzing, because usually my mind was so disturbed I couldn't hear anything but like this demonic voice and everything.
perspective. That's
And I was just like,
crazy.
that's what I'm talking about. And so I think people just get
Yeah.
like, challenges happen, tribulation happens, persecution happens, and it's like in third world countries, it just attaches them more to God and gives them more joy and more
Yeah.
peace, because they realize, man, like I'm not going to be fulfilled when life has no problems. I'm not going to be fulfilled when life has no challenges.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fulfilled when I realize that I'm just going to focus on God, and that's who I need to focus
And
on.
gratitude is like the biggest answer. Like, man, I can't tell you how many times, like, we have our acts of kindness ministry here at Springs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And bro, like the amount of homes that we'll go into and they literally have nothing. They've
Mm-hmm.
been sleeping on the floor, and we're bringing them a couple of mattresses and frames, and the kids are running and jumping and screaming, and they're so happy. And it's like, this is just a bed.
Yep.
Like, I got an extra room at home that has a mattress in it, and I don't even think twice. These people are getting mattresses, and it's like, this is the best moment ever for them. And it's just so much perspective of, you get humbled so quickly when you realize that we live in such a consumeristic world that we focus on so many other things, when it's like, but you have a bed to sleep on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And there's somebody who just moved to Canada that left everything behind in their home country.
100%.
They're sleeping on the floor of an apartment, and they're just happy to be here. And the
Mhm.
fact that we bring them a bed brings them like the greatest amount of joy ever. And man, it's crazy. I like every single time that we do that, it's the most humbling experience. And anybody who's watching this, if you go to Springs, go get involved with acts of kindness if you can. Like,
100%. Well, that's
it's crazy.
That's the perspective switch, and I think that, yeah, I mean, gratitude, man. It all comes back to gratitude. It's like you can be
Yeah.
so grateful for the things that you have, the small things, the like everything in life you can be grateful for. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, the smallest little things. And when you meet someone like that, it's like, well, in today's day, they almost like scoff at them. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, it's grass, it's green, we get it. It looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's go have some fun. It's like, well, no, I think that person's unlocked something that most people need to unlock, is the
Yeah.
fact that they can look at something so simple and still be so just brought to almost tears with how much joy they can
Mhm.
have because of God's creation or because of whatever it is. And I think we just get stuck from, we get stuck in the fulfillment, the looking for fulfillment side, when it's
Yeah.
like it's never been made to be satisfied in this world without God.
Yeah.
And you, like, God's first, everything else comes second. And when everything else comes second and God's first, everything else can actually fulfill you because you're
Yeah.
doing it God's way and God's leading you into that fulfillment. You know what I mean?
Which, yeah, I 100% know what you mean. And I listened to something recently, and I'm not going to quote it 100% correct, but it was talking about the way that our brains are designed and dopamine, that like, you get the greatest pleasure in the waiting. Like, when
Mhm.
you actually get the thing, that's not the best part of it. Like, the whole reason that thing is so good is because you waited so long and you worked, hard to get it. You know what I mean? So it's
100%.
like, our brains are kind of designed to enjoy the waiting and
Mhm.
realize that, like, this waiting period isn't just a time to go, oh, all this time is wasted. You know, we're still not in the house that we want. We still don't have the car we want. We
Mhm.
still don't have the family we want. We haven't had, our first kid yet. Like whatever it is, so much time gets lost in the waiting because as human beings, we're so focused on getting the thing when it's like our brain was actually not even designed to have the most pleasurable moment when you get it. It's like enjoy the waiting, enjoy the moment now
Mhm.
because you're like this you're never going to get this time back.
Mhm.
So learn how to enjoy the moment and
Oh, yeah.
enjoy life, not just the stuff.
Well, and you're not waiting by yourself.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's
Like,
true.
you wait with God, for sure, he's with you, but then God's already given you so many things that you currently are waiting with. It's just you're not reminding yourselves of those things, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like this is gonna be a cycle over and over and over again of talking about gratitude and stewardship and
It's
practicing
true.
what you see, because that ultimately does, like, that's when I talked about hope in multiple weeks, that's because people just can't look. They can't see what they currently have and be thankful for what they currently have.
Mhm.
Everyone wants more, more, more. And as long as you're always in the more mindset, in consumerism, not in God. I think it's always great to have that mindset with God. But getting earthly things all the time, you're never going to be fulfilled.
No.
And the next new thing, like Jim Carrey said, is just going to lead you to the next not fulfilling thing, which actually
Yeah.
I think erodes even more hope, because you're like, finally you were in the waiting, got what you were waiting for, and it didn't fulfill
It
you.
didn't bring you the
And
fulfillment that
that's
you
why the
thought.
waiting gets super hard. And I
Yeah.
think it's just because people are waiting for the wrong things. It's like,
Yeah.
man, if you can just, I don't know, you get to a place where it's like, be thankful for what you have. And even if you want to upgrade, let's say you're in a home right now, and let's say you enjoy it for another 5 years, but then you and Allie are like, oh, I'd love to get another house. I'd love to get a bigger house. I'd love to get a nicer yard.
Mhm.
And it's like, that's not a bad thing to think about or pray about.
Right.
But it will be way more enjoyable when you just go, well, what we have is amazing right now, so we're in no rush. When it
Yeah.
comes up, it'll be great, and when it works, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And then when the offer gets declined, you'll be like, you know what? We have an amazing house right now. Obviously, this one's not the one for me or us,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Or when this, like, it's you just change your perspective over and over and
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah. It's because again, I feel like the only thing people hear when people talk about this is like, oh, well, it's bad to want stuff or it's bad to have stuff. And it's like, absolutely not. Like life is meant to be enjoyed. Go on a vacation, go buy a house, like go do that. That's totally fine. Don't search for fulfillment in it because you're
Mhm.
not going to find it.
You're not.
Having it is great. Enjoy it. But if you're looking for that sense of like finally that hole is filled, it's like it's not there. So you can keep looking for it, but you won't find it.
Well, the search for fulfillment, it's not a search. It's
Right.
like it's been given to you already.
Yeah.
It's just people don't allow the things that were meant for fulfillment to be fulfillment.
Yeah.
And it's like you still have a free will to go, I can get into what God's called me to do or not. Like Daniel. It's, again, I always go back to Daniel lately just because it's been a big study thing of mine lately, but it's like he was fulfilled. That's why when
Mhm.
everything happened, nothing really phased him. He was already fulfilled. He was
Dude
good.
was eating veggies in a one-bedroom apartment, just waiting for that iron fist to come down,
Yeah.
and nothing even
No,
changed.
nothing changed,
Yeah.
man. He just continued to do what he always did. And it's like,
Yeah.
I love that verse. And it's like, I personally just want to live my life so that when crisis hits, someone will just say, yeah, when that thing happened to Zach, he just kind of just kept doing what he always did. Like, he just kept
Yeah.
he kept with his relationship with God. He kept in his devotions. He kept praying. He kept preaching. He kept loving on his family. Like,
Mhm.
that's a legacy to me worth leaving, is something where
Yeah.
it's like, he had everything against him, but he just didn't change what he was doing still. He
Mhm.
just enjoyed his life, and
Yeah.
uh, it always stands out to me because my in-laws, my father and mother-in-law always say, like, and they have a nice property they worked hard for and saved up for, and they would be living what they would probably call their dream,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And whenever we're in the car, and sometimes we just like just going and looking at other houses, and we'll pass little tiny houses compared to maybe what they're in, and they'll be like, we could be happy there though. And I'm just like, it just always
Whoa.
boggles my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? You can be like, and a young immature Zach back in the day was like, what do you mean? What do you mean you could be happy there? And it's like, well,
Why
of
would
course
you
you
be?
could be happy there. He's like,
Yeah.
we'd have the best grass, the best, everything would be taken care of well. And I'm just like, that's a perspective right there change for a lot
Mhm.
of people, where it's
Yeah.
like there's people that pass by what you're complaining about right now
Yeah.
going, whoa, I wish
100%.
I could be in there. I wish
Yeah.
I could have that house. And it's like
Mhm.
with your house currently,
Yeah, yeah.
with your price, with
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
it is you got into, there's people going, oh, I just wish that we could afford that.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have to do this. I wish we didn't. So it's like that's perspective change in itself for me, where it's like, stop it, because you're always going to feel unfulfilled. You're always going to be mad. You're always going to be hopeless. You're the rest of your life if you don't learn to steward what you have, as
Mhm.
little as you might think it is, and you don't be grateful for what you have, because if you're not grateful for what you have, then you're not going to be grateful for what you get either.
Yeah.
And then the next house, the next car, the next this, the next that is just going to be something that is old news within 3
It's just
days.
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and you're looking for something else to get.
Yeah.
And you're just like, "Oh my goodness, it's just a
Yeah.
vicious cycle,
And
man, and it's irritating."
one of the biggest like if you truly want to like get out of that consumeristic mentality, one of the biggest things that I've realized for me is like social media, because obviously we know like social media it's this terrible thing, you know, you're constantly reducing your attention span, you're looking for the next thing. But it's so funny because now like Allie and I, we've been married for a little while now, and we get into like routines of different things that we do. And one of the things we're just trying to be more intentional with like what we do in our evenings, because now she's working full time, I work full time, I got evening stuff sometimes, she's got evening stuff sometimes. So it's like, okay, we need to be specific with our time. And for a little while we weren't. And it was so funny because it's like before bed, she's like, "What do you want to do?" And we used to like literally just sit in our bed and like we'd both be on our phones, and then we would turn off our phones and go to sleep. And again, if that's what you're currently doing and you're listening to this, like that's totally fine. No
It's not
judgment
totally
there.
fine. I'll speak it out right
Okay.
now. It is going to ruin your marriage. You are going to get a divorce. You are going to fall out of love. Don't listen to Andre right now. It
Okay,
will
I'm
ruin your
sorry.
life if you do that.
Okay, let me preface, being on social media isn't going to ruin your life, but if it's the only thing you do in the evenings, it's not good. But
Yeah.
anyways, we started like calling each other out about it. So it'd be like, "Oh, what do you want to do tonight?" And then we would just like make the joke of, probably doom scroll for like 2 hours and hit the hay and call it a night."
Yeah,
And it's like,
exactly.
"Yeah, same, let's go do that."
Imagine putting that in your calendar.
Yeah. And
Like,
it's
what
like
do we
when
have
you,
tonight? Okay, sweet.
because when you say it out loud, it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but that's like so normal.
I'm going to add it to my calendar right now on my shared calendar with Jess.
Doom scroll
I want and
for
for
2
tonight.
hours and go to
For
bed
tonight, I'm going to add it right now.
unhappy.
I'm going to go doom scroll
I mean,
on our own phones, then go to bed.
yeah. It's like, "You wanna do that?" "Yeah, I wanna do that." And we literally fist bump, and then we're like, "Yeah, that's the dumbest thing ever. We should plan something else." But the thing is with social media, like, something that I've realized, which maybe other people are like, "Yeah, I totally understood this." This is a revelation to me, was social media is designed to be addicting, right? It's like, if you're on social media, you're designed to just keep going on it. But you're like searching for fulfillment in social media. Like you're searching for a video that you're finally going to be like, "Okay, I think I'm good. I'm going to put this away now and I'm going to go to bed happy or fulfilled." It's like that never happens.
Yeah.
Like you scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and actually the opposite happens. You finally realize that you stayed up way too late, and you still feel completely unfulfilled, and that none of the videos did anything for you. That
Oh,
now
yeah.
you're kind of upset that
Yep.
you're going to bed so late, and you feel like a piece of crap. So you put your phone away, you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning tired, and then you do it all over again. And it's
Mhm.
like it's such a vicious cycle that, yeah, you're right. Like I guarantee you, if you do that every night, yeah, your marriage is gonna be over. But
Oh, it's over.
it's done.
It's done.
But
It's
yeah, just being intentional with like truly, if you're listening to this and you feel stuck in a cycle, just quit social media before bed, or like quit it honestly altogether. I guarantee you, your life will change. It's completely changed. There's been many times where I've deleted social media, and I always get it back because it's just that like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I want to stay up to date with things," which is a complete excuse. But
Well, like
again,
social media is not the problem, to be honest. Like it's your discipline that's the problem.
100%,
Right? Like
yeah,
like go enjoy scrolling for 15 minutes. Just don't do it for 3
yeah.
hours. Like go if that's the case, but you'll know pretty quickly whether you're being
Yeah.
affected by it or you're not,
And
right?
it's like the biggest killer of discipline too.
Huge. Yeah, you can scroll
Yeah.
for ages. I put in my calendar. I was like, if we didn't have a daughter, Jess would have already responded to me probably. But I put doom scroll on our phones, then go to bed, and I put it as 8 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Yeah.
If this was
Yeah.
if Brooke wasn't probably like
She'd
whatever
be
she's doing
like,
right now, Jess would be texting me like, "What the heck did you just put in our calendar?" But it actually is a very, very funny exercise. It's like you should schedule everything you do. Like
yeah,
what you did yesterday, schedule it for tonight. Like whatever those stupid things is, imagine you just actually putting
threw
them
it
in
on
the
a schedule.
calendar.
Yeah.
Imagine you actually are staying disciplined to do it now. You know what I mean? Like if you looked at your calendar in your worst nights where you're like, oh, this is the worst night ever, I'm bored out of my mind. And in your calendar it said we're gonna start doing that tonight. 8 p.m., pull our phones out, stop talking to each other. We're going to doom scroll for 2 hours, and then we're going to say good night and both face opposite sides of the room and go to bed. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's just like, that is depressing, right? But
Yeah.
we all choose to do it all the time. And you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, oh my, ugh.
That'll be the challenge of this podcast. Put everything you do normally without thinking into a schedule and realize how much of an idiot you are. And I only say that. I only say that because when I did that about my life, I was like, what the heck am I doing?
Mhm.
Like, people ask me what I did this weekend, and I can't even tell you what I did. Like, this is my life. Like, what am I
Mhm.
doing, man? And it's ridiculous.
It's the little things you don't realize that actually make your marriage so much better too. Like I in my
100%.
calendar, every weekday that I work, um, I have in our calendar, our shared calendar, that it says we have a family walk at this time.
Yep.
And I will, and if it's in that calendar, I will do whatever it takes to make sure I'm home for that
Yep.
time. And we'll just go on a half an hour walk together with Brooke in the stroller, and we'll just walk, and all the dogs, and we'll just go for a walk. And it's like that's quickly become our favorite thing to do.
Yep.
And it's only 30 minutes. It's not some big extravagant plan.
Mhm.
It cost us nothing.
Yep.
And I'd say more I'd say 100% of the time we get back from that walk feeling more connected, feeling more in like enjoyment with our lives,
Mhm.
way more gratitude because you're just doing something that is free and easy and not hard.
Yeah. And there's like something humbling about it because when you take away all the distractions that we get so like caught up in, you realize that like the whole saying of like wake up and smell the roses is literally true. I
Mhm.
walked out of my house. We were going on a walk, and I didn't even tell Allie this, but I walked out of my house and she just planted these beautiful flowers in our front yard. And I walked in, I'm like, wow, something smells really
Yeah.
good. And I realized after, I'm like, oh, those are the flowers. And it's like, if you never take a moment to enjoy, like, if you're so caught up in all the other things, you're gonna miss out on so much of life that
100%.
like sucks. And it's so funny, like exactly what you're saying. For everybody listening, I know it to be true because he's turned me down for gaming many times and been like, "I'm hanging out with Jess. I'm going for a family walk." So
Mhm.
this guy's a man of his word. But
Jess literally just said, "Love the calendar update" with a laughing, crying face.
she's like, "Let's do that tonight." Yeah,
Uh,
it's so ridiculous, but
I
man,
know it's funny.
it's
It's so funny.
that is the reality of my life sometimes, and I gotta check myself and realize that's the silliest thing ever.
Well,
So,
and there's been times where it's like me and Jess will scroll together on one phone.
oh yeah,
You know what I
we do that
mean?
sometimes too.
Where
Yeah,
it's like we're still doing it, but now we're enjoying it together and we're
yeah,
laughing together and we're like, and it creates conversation, and
oh
that's
yeah,
different too, right? And so it's like again, like social media can be the enemy very quickly, and your phone can be the enemy
hmm
absolutely, but ultimately it's like you can, like I said, you can kind of take anything that was meant for harm in today's
100%
society, and
true.
you can
Yeah,
probably turn it around and have a great time still with it.
hmm
And I think that's what we miss in society sometimes is just like, I think just be more intentional with what you're doing. And
yeah,
it's way more fun too. Like it could be
oh
the most
yeah,
simplest thing ever. Like, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. Like, you want to play crib and drink a decaf coffee? Sure. And it's like, if you would just stumble into that, you'd probably go to bed going, yeah, it's a decent night. But the fact
yep.
that you just scheduled it in,
You
it's something to
chose
look
it.
forward to a little bit. You have a
Yeah,
little discipline in there. You're kind of like, oh yeah, sure, that'd be fun. And then you go to work the next day going, yeah, we had a nice, just chill night. We just sat on the deck or sat outside or sat inside, and we just
yeah,
enjoyed a game. And it's like someone else might go, wow, that sounds like a really boring night. And it's like,
yeah,
well, it's like just be disciplined in what you want to do and where you want to
yeah,
go. And God uses that a lot too, where I just think that it's like He's created you to be purposeful with what you choose to do, right?
yep.
Like, and I think time moves very fast too when you're not purposeful with it.
100%.
Right. And it's like, well, what can we do? Where do we do this? How can we have fun together? It's like at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. Like, it's like even today, it's like, well, I definitely need to mow my grass. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
But then it's like, also, it's like, but I get to mow my grass. I'm like, wow, I have a yard I can mow. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, oh yeah, I get it, Zach, be positive. It's like, no, but you're missing the point. Like when people are like, I talked about Josh for a second. It's like, he was grateful there was a mosquito he could hear in his room.
Yeah.
That's a different level. Like,
Yeah.
and that actually, I literally told him, I was like, that is insane. Like the fact that that's what you're grateful for in that moment.
I don't think I'll ever be there, but
Yeah, I know.
I wish I could be.
That's what I mean. It's like obviously we're still killing the mosquitoes if they're in our room at night, but it's just the perspective switch of going, wow, like people, and then those realists are always like, yeah, but I don't have that problem. I just don't like them. My life's
Yeah.
good. And it's like, that's probably why you're mad and why
Stop
you're
listening
sad.
to other people and stop listening to what they have to say about your
Oh,
life, because
gosh.
everybody's got a stupid opinion about something, and it's like, just go live your life, enjoy it, have fun, get stuff, go on trips, do all that, great. But just find fulfillment in Jesus, find fulfillment in what the Bible tells you, and then you're going to be fulfilled so that you can enjoy all those things, because you're already fulfilled and now
Mhm.
you're not searching for it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
100%, yeah. The one thing you said about like scrolling social media together, I really encourage you, if you have a partner and you haven't done that yet, do that, because it's the funniest thing where you see like two different humors, because like your algorithm's completely different. It's like we're scrolling through and Allie's like watching my Instagram, and the videos that are coming up, I'm like dying laughing at, and
Yeah.
she's like,
Looking at you like you're insane.
what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the funniest thing, because I'm watching this video of this guy that's making up these stupid baseball pitches saying they're going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it's just the dumbest thing, and I find it hilarious, and she's watching it going like,
What in
what's
the world
wrong
is
with you?
this? Or even like I find if Jess has her phone and we're both looking at her phone, it's like she she scrolls past things I wouldn't scroll past.
Oh,
Like
and then
she'll
you're
watch
like,
it for the
"Wait, go
first
back."
3 or 4 seconds. I'm like, why'd you scroll? Like, what are you doing? Or she'll watch like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
We're like 10 seconds away from the punchline, and then she scrolls, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes.
We're almost there. Like, why? And it's same thing with me, where it's like I'm watching this video. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good, and she's like, okay, next. Like, this is so boring, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, it's actually pretty funny. It's definitely try it.
Good
Be
little
purposeful.
couples exercise right there.
Well, it's fun. Makes it more enjoyable.
That's
But
fun, for sure.
I guess we should
Wrap it
we
up.
should wrap her up there. So thanks everyone for watching. Like always, you've heard me say this however many episodes we're in now. Like, subscribe, share. If you like it, okay? If you
Yeah.
want to share it, share it. There's someone in your life that needs it right now, or share it to your page, share it to whatever it is. You're scrolling probably right now. So just go, just do it. Always want to bring as many great conversations as I can onto this podcast, and you're sharing, you're liking, you're commenting, all that helps us be able to do that. So thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll see you here on the next episode.